Hello there! Welcome to Raymond Island, Gunai Kurnai land. Now today we're going to talk about attribution theory. Attribution theory is the narratives that we create to explain other people's behaviours. Fundamentally, it's where we assign the motivation or the meaning structure to other people's behaviours in order for their behaviour to make sense to us. In the middle is a neutral standpoint where we see people's behaviour as arbitrary and we assign no meaning to it whatsoever. If we go all the way down here, we have the internal end of the spectrum, and that means that we explain people's behaviour by their internal mechanisms, so by their personality traits, by their worldview, by their meaning structure, by their needs, wants, desires, that kind of stuff. So if we go to this end of the spectrum, this is the external end of the spectrum, where people's behaviours are explained by environmental predictors. So that's whether they're running late, whether they've had a fight with their boss, whether they're under huge financial pressures, whether they've got conflict at home, all these external factors that can motivate people's behaviours. So this spectrum is how we understand people's behaviour, and somewhere across this spectrum we pick a narrative in order to assign meaning to someone's behaviour, and that is attribution theory in a nutshell. The fundamental attribution error speaks to the notion that 60 to 70% of the time we're more likely to assign internal motivators to explain someone's behaviour. So this means that when I see someone engaging in a behaviour, 60 to 70% of the time I'm going to explain their behaviour. I'm going to create a narrative for myself that explains their behaviour based on who they are, their personality structure, their worldview, their intrinsic sense of being. Now the flip side to this is that I myself explain my own behaviour 60 to 70% of the times by external circumstances, which means that when it comes to understanding my behaviour and the reasons why I do things, I am more often than not going to assign the context of that behaviour as an explanation as to why I'm doing it. So I'm running late, I'm feeling hungry, I'm really stressed right now, you don't understand the pressures I've been under. All these kinds of things are going on in my mind which are going to create the narrative for me as to why I'm doing something. Now there's also a little human trait called the self-serving bias, and that means that the way I perceive information, the way I remember information, and the way I collect and recalibrate information is always within the interest of confirming a narrative that I already have. So when you think of all these things going on at the same time, it's a recipe for disaster. So if you take my self-serving bias and combine it with the fact that I explain your behaviour as a personality flaw rather than external circumstances influencing your behaviour, more often than not, I'm going to have some pretty wild judgments of you that exist purely for the benefit of confirming a narrative that I've already created. So the reason I'm talking about this today is because there's been many examples over the last few weeks. It's like a reoccurring theme where I'm noticing that people are observing other people's behaviour and then objectifying that person and explaining that person's behaviour based on some kind of character defect that person must have, rather than really taking the time to understand the broader context of this person's situation. And rather than getting into some kind of throwdown rant with another person based on the fact that I understand how self-serving biases work and the fundamental attribution error, I thought I'd just make a video and release it out into the ethos in the hope that maybe someone sees it and just makes a little bit more of an effort to understand the context of people's lives before they make rash decisions about people's personality makeups. Because at the end of the day, if you're just going to grab a simplistic narrative that explains someone's behaviour based on their personality flaws or personality traits, it's really just laziness, and it's judgmental and totally objectifying. And keep in mind, please, that statistically it's highly probable they're doing that to you simultaneously. So let's maybe tilt this on its head. Let's maybe do a little bit of role modelling, hey? Let's think about the self-serving bias in reverse and the fact that other people are engaging in that same exercise as they're talking to us. So if we can slow things down and understand the context of others, maybe they'll do the same for us, all right? Stay awesome, people.